I thought that I would attempt doing a tutorial again showing you how I add journaling to my hybrid scrapbooking layouts. You can see that I have one sentence typed out already. What I did to start from this point was head to text over on the left-hand side of the screen and select that. So text will show up after you've selected it. I like to move it over so that I am able to see what the text looks like if I want to change the font that I'm using. To turn it into a writing font, I go to the top of the screen on the left-hand side under Style. From the drop-down menu, I select Writing. That's going to change the text from Basic Cut to Write. And then if I want to change the text, I come back to the left-hand top of the screen to Font, and from the drop-down menu, click on it. There are different options that you can choose from with Cricut, System, Bookmarked, and Recent. Bookmarked are fonts that you have saved in Cricut Design Space that are your favorites and you use often, or fonts that you want to use because you like the way they look and wanted to save it for future reference. My internet is not cooperating today, so it may be laggy. So here I had typed in the search bar field here, typed that, or the font that I wanted to use for this layout, which was typewriter. You'll want to make sure you remember to look for tags underneath the font that you choose, that it has the writing capability with it. If not, it will end up being a cut image again. Or if you manually change it to write, it's going to draw with an outline. And if you don't want that, stick with fonts that are writing capable. So you can see down here the typewriter font is single layer. That means it is a cut image. And then the typewriter STD regular is also single layer, so it does not have the write capabilities. However, the typewriter font up here and QuinType both have writing capabilities. So now that we have chosen our text, I double click over top of the word text to open the text box. When it's highlighted blue like that, it means it's ready for typing. So at this point, you can type whatever it is that you want to for your journaling. I'm just going to show you how I got from this point to this sentence down here, and then I'll show you the rest of the process that I go through for adding journaling to my layouts. So now that I have double-clicked inside the text box, I can start typing. So if you click on the image once more, you'll be able to actually start writing your journaling. I'm just going to copy what I wrote down below because that's the easiest. So literally just go ahead and start typing. So I'm going to go fresh rhubarb, straight. You get to see my stellar typing skills. Typos and all. So I've typed my sentence, and as you can see, it is quite long. I'll just zoom out here so you can see the entire sentence. So there it is. And of course, there's a typo, so we'll fix that real quick. Okay. Now, around the text box, there are these little boxes, and that enables you to adjust the size of your journaling. Because the canvas that I want to put my journaling on measures 5 3/4 inches across, that's the white mat here on my little journal card, I'm going to edit the size of my sentence so that it fits comfortably within that mat. So I'm going to change this to 5.5 inches wide. There's two ways that you can do this. You can use the squares to drag the size and make it smaller or larger, depending on what size layout you're working on. Or you can go up to size here in your toolbar at the top of the screen and unlock that text box. This allows you to manually change the size of your text to what you want it to be. It's just a little quicker than using the drag option. So I know that I want it to be 5.5 inches wide, so I'll type in 5.5. And then I select tab and it automatically jumps it over to the height box. And I know that this sentence down here, 0.2 inches high, is a good height for each of my sentences. So I'll type in 0.2. And then I hit return. You don't have to. You can just click on the canvas and it'll reflect those changes that you made. And then I come back up here to the lock and then relock it again, so I don't accidentally click on something and drag it to a size that I don't want it again, like make mistakes kind of thing. It's just a fail safe in my crafting. So I'll zoom back in again. And here we are. So I have 2 sentences that I can add to my mat now. So you'll be able to see that it fits perfectly. It's centered nice and easily on the mat. I mean, by what it looks like. I'll show you later on how I actually ensure that my font is centered exactly on that mat. Now, how do I know that my journaling is going to fit in that space and it's not going to overlap when I come to the creating process? This is exactly how I know it's going to fit. I plan out my design beforehand and then I move on to my journaling. That allows me to visualize how much space there is for my journaling. It will also help me kind of get a feel for what size my font should be as well. And in the end, it avoids big flubs and then having to do it over again. So I'm getting to the end of my journaling. I'm just going to edit this sentence and then I have one more that I want to type, and then I will show you how I take it from being individual sentences to becoming a whole group and then being attached to my layout. So what I usually do is follow the highlighted box here that has the font size in it, and keep it somewhere in that general vicinity. I really like trying to keep my images and fonts and everything at whole numbers. So I'm going to go up here to my size box again and make that 4 inches wide, and then hop over to the height and it's still 0.2 inches. So that's perfect. I'll hit return and that sentence is good to go. And it should still be roughly the same height and size as its sisters. So again, I'm going to, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, go over here to the far right hand side of your canvas and you have the layers panel and color sync. Underneath the layers, you have the ungroup option. Next to that is your duplicate, and then of course there's delete as well. To create all of my sentences, I always select the duplicate. So select that. I can drag my sentence over to a spot that is easier for me to see while I'm typing, and I'm going to finish up my last sentence. So triple click and then start typing away. So the last sentence is going to be, we sure love our rhubarb. Okay, again, so it's just over 2.5 inches wide, which is okay. I'm going to come back up here to my size, unlock it, and change it to 2.5 instead of 2.59. And then here the font says it's 0.144 inches in height. I'm going to change it to 0.15 and see how that feels next to the rest of its sentences. And it looks fairly even to me. So I'm going to leave it. If it feels like it's too big or too small, I kind of play around with the sizes until I find something that looks good to the eye. So now, what I'm going to do is just drag all of my sentences out here again, line them up. I'm not too concerned about how evenly they're distributed and how straight they are and that sort of thing. I'm going to take care of that all right now. So what I'm going to do is click on the canvas and then drag. So you'll see this highlighted area. That's going to create a box around all of my journaling. And then you can see the 4 squares on each corner. You can adjust that by dragging and pulling on those squares, or you can do it the manual way. Before I do that though, I like to come up to a line that's at the top of your canvas. There's a drop-down menu. Select that, and then you have all these options here that you can choose from to help you get your individual sentences for your journaling centered both vertically and horizontally. I like to come down to the bottom of the drop-down screen to distribute, and I like to select distribute horizontally first. So that's going to distribute all of those journaling sentences so that they are evenly matched in a margin, if that makes sense. Like from left to right, they're all the same. So I'll select distribute horizontally. So that puts everything in that center justification. And then I'm going to come back to align and select the drop-down menu again, and then come back down to distribute, but now distribute it vertically. So that's going to make sure all the spaces in between each of the sentences are equally distanced apart. Okay, so now everything looks good. I'm going to come over to my far right-hand panel again, over to the layers panel, and I'm going to select the group function. When I do that, it's going to create an entirely new text box with all of my journaling in one text box. Now that we have done that, we can pull it over here again to our mat where we want to have our journaling attached to. And here I decide whether or not it needs to be adjusted size-wise a little bit further. And I really think that it does. So I'm going to click on it so it highlights again. And like I said earlier, because I like having everything even numbers, I'm going to adjust the height and the width of my sentences. So again, come back to the top to the size, unlock, and then I'm going to change the width back to 5.5 inches. And the height, it actually feels a little bit tight between my little title spot and the bottom of the journal mat. I'd like it to be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to change the 1.485 to 1.25 and see how that feels. That still looks okay. I like having sort of a comfortable border around my journaling between each of the elements that are on my layout. I might actually make the journaling a little bit higher than 1.25 because there's just a little too much space, although I may just leave it, instead of going height-wise, maybe I'll go a little bit shorter width-wise. So let's, just to start, let's see 5.25, see what that does. And now that feels like too much to me. So like as you can see, it's really kind of a play with it until you like it, until it's visually pleasing, you know, kind of trial and error kind of thing. I am going to widen this a little bit further. So instead of 0.25, I'm going to go, we'll try 5.35 and see. I think that might be a bit better. So now that I have my white mat and my journaling left, I'm going to drag the box around the entire image. So you can see that it measures 5.75 by 3.75 inches. That's the white shape in this layout. That's the dimensions of that. I want to be sure that my journaling is centered left to right horizontally on this mat. So now that I have the entire image highlighted, I'm going to go back to Align up here at the top of your canvas, select the drop-down menu, and I'm going to select Center Horizontally. And it looks like it's perfect, so nothing really needed to change there. I will not choose the center vertically because then that's going to mess with the rest of the layout and where I had everything placed. You have a couple options here. If you want to change the color of your font, you can go ahead and do that. I personally like changing the color of everything, so I have a good visual of what my layout is going to look like when it is created. So I am going to change the color of my font. I don't have to do it right at this point. You can do it after you have attached your journaling to what your journaling mat is going to be. So I'm happy that my journaling is centered. It looks good. I'm going to come over to the very far layers panel again, and down at the bottom of your canvas on the right hand side, there are options here as well. You can flatten it. That means you can print and cut if you decide to go that route. I prefer not to do that. I want to attach my writing. So when I go to create this layout, the shape is going to cut and the writing is going to happen all at the same time. It's killing two birds with one stone, essentially. So select Attach. Now your writing is there permanently. When you go to create your layout, your words are going to be exactly where you put it. I hope you guys found my tutorial helpful. I do tend to be wordy. I try not to. But if you have any questions or anything that I shared with you is not clear or you don't quite understand and need further clarification, don't hesitate to reach out to me and fire away your questions. I'm happy to answer them. If there's any other tutorials that you'd like to see as well, let me know down in the comments what you'd like covered, and I will do my best to accommodate you. And again, thank you for joining me today, friends. I hope you found my video inspiring and helpful, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please let me know. Bye, guys.